I'm just trying to share with you that the field of helping relationship has accumulated in the last 80 years a lot of evidence. Like Gary and also Roberto Poli were saying this morning, this is not new. You know, future studies are 60 years old, and actually, even before that, in the field of helping profession, psychotherapy in particular, humanistic psychotherapy in particular, has accumulated a lot of anticipation value in promoting change. In particularly, this is not the only one, but is the one I am very familiar and represent, person-centered approach, have accumulated a large body of research, being Carl Rogers the first that introduced 8 years ago this kind of research. And so he was the first to develop a holistic systemic paradigm, scientifically formulated, so it could be validated, and it's called the person-centered approach. In the beginning, they started with the field of mental health, psychotherapy in especially, and hypothesized and validated that there were 3 conditions that were necessary and sufficient in the therapeutic relationship to promote change and development of potentiality. Later on, they did the research, and nowadays, 2014, we have a meta-analysis, also from other approaches, showing that this is still valid, and basically that if, this is also intuitive, if somebody is co-creating a safe environment and the person feels not threatened, can feel less threat, lower defense, explore more easily, and benefit from the helping relationship. These 3 basic relational aspects or qualities are to be experiencing profound respect or non-judgment, empathic understanding, and also from a person, the therapist in this case, that is authentic. It's not just playing a role or using technique. And the research confirmed the hypothesis that these are promoting self-understanding, self-esteem, resiliency, and a capacity for deep contact with oneself, others, and the world. This predictive value came out of a new paradigm. This is called also the third force, the first one being psychoanalysis, the second one being behavior modification, and the third force, which Carl Rogers is one of the fathers, was created because they felt, many people felt, but in all this, where is the person? Like human beings are not at the center. That's why they call it person-centered approach. Not centered the symptoms, but centered the person in this entirety, hopes and fears. And, Carl Rogers was like somebody saying, hey, colleagues, let's consider one moment what we're doing. We're really struggling and doing a lot of work, sweating a lot, day and night, to help our clients. The other we're calling it patients. And we focalize all our energy to study sickness, pathology. Isn't it a little strange that we know everything about pathology and we know very little about health? Wouldn't it be the same paradox if a lifeguard would know everything about how people are drowning, but not very much how saving them or helping people to learn to swim, you know. So he also, you know, symbolically, shall we ask ourselves the social construction of this narrative that we create? Are we part, not willingly, of the problem or of the solution? At the time, were really relevant questions. Unfortunately, I feel that 80 years later, they're still important question marks. Some people agree, thank you. So Rogers wanted to democratize that field of a helping profession that were, you know, really created in a top-down, in a authoritarian way, where the therapist was the emperor and the patient was the subject to his interpretation of prescription. Nothing to be said about it. Actually, if somebody challenged that, it would be interpreted as resisting the treatment. So, to really understand what I'm trying to communicate with you, we have to understand what was going on in terms of narrative, in terms of vision of human nature. Here, an excerpt from Sigmund Freud that Sigmund wrote in 1932. The mind is to be compared with the modern state in which a mob, eager for enjoyment and destruction, has to be held down forcibly by a prudent superior class. It's a pretty big value statement. Other value statements were pretty heavy at the time. Today you will be kicked out by the ethical committee from your profession, asserting that every citizen that was a female that was running in a therapist's room was affected by a syndrome that was incurable. She had, of course, being a woman, penis envy. John Watson, the father of behavioralism, in 1924 said the interest of the behavioralist is more than the interest of a spectator. He wants to control man reaction, and physical scientists want to control and manipulate the natural phenomena. Actually, I was in a rush, you know, I finished yesterday, to be honest, this, but I didn't find the exact page because I wanted to cite another passage for 1936 of Watson. Watson, the father of behavioralism, not the friend of Sherlock Holmes. That said, politicians should leave the care of society to us, behavior scientists, because we know how to manipulate the masses without the masses understanding what is going on. So trust us. So I'm saying the obvious, that psychotherapy, like any other helping profession, is a political act. You know, and hiding that, it doesn't help nobody, nor the professional, nor the public. And every paradigm has built-in relational politics. For Sigmund Freud, that of course is the father of modern psychotherapy, and that all of us need to acknowledge with gratitude the enormous contribution, and nobody's perfect. Well, the purpose for Freud was to try to harness, to control, and to sublimate the intrinsic destructive aspect of human nature. He had that image of humankind that at the time was called mankind, value, hidden value again. For Watson, the point was to take control and correct with, of course, well-intended technological zeal, the maladaptive learning of his patients. None of them were trying to do any harm, of course. They were trying to help people suffering. So, the person-centered was created just as an alternative vision of human nature, because Rogers and others didn't share that kind of visions, nor the results that unwittingly. So the person-centered approach, like any paradigm, is based on a vision. Which one? That good news, that the human beings, like blade of grass, palm tree, frogs, giraffes, and wolves, dogs, cats, also human beings are blessed by their evolution that gives them the same actualizing tendency to become what is their evolution and genetic blueprint helps them to become if they are meeting the necessary and sufficient condition. So that in the case of human beings, they have innate the capacity for self-understanding and self-regulation. The predictive nature of life is that it has a tendency, actualizing tendency, to become aware, in amoeba, for example, aware of becoming, towards some food or some harm. And without going to school or having any interpretation of the behavior, is self-regulate if that organism is at its best. If the environment, the anticipated value of life that is self-aware and self-regulating. So, our relationship with ourselves, others, and the world is an important determinant of mental and physical and social health. For Rogers, the healthy person is in contact with all the parts of his organism. It is a holistic principle. It doesn't exist, mind and body, the Cartesian split. And people and society, of course they have problems. He wasn't crazy. There are problems. But what they derive? For inner evil? No, it derives like in any other living organism, when the conditions don't allow for full expression of life. And so in this case is that if human beings become alienated from themselves, then they have a reification. They are not in contact, they lose contact, and they lose the compass. I didn't have that time to find it. I wanted to put a picture that I just saw a few days ago on the web of whales dying on a beach because they have lost their inner compass that would make them swim in deep water. So, for Rogers, and this basically 7 years ago, the important thing is how the individual perceives the future, what I can look forward. And it's not the past that conditions so much people as others consider, like behavioralism and, thank you very much, and psychoanalysis, but organisms have a future organization. And so it's more our vision of the future that influences us. They had very much a success in the field of psychotherapy and mental health, so they passed to apply the same principle on education, social work, doctor-patient relationship, medicine, management, interpersonal relation, conflict resolution. Later on, we call people-centered approach, this approach apply to thousands and thousands of individuals or even millions. We work also with the region, with the different countries and all that. Now, since the time is short, person-centered psychotherapy are empirically supported and have a lot of the scientific evidence. Part of that is that the Working Alliance or therapy alliance, for example, is a variable that predicts, the success of treatment. And the first three conditions are Rogers' three sufficient necessary conditions. So the effective relationship between two people, client and therapist, is really a crucial determinant for success. Of course, we have to be aware of the politics of the helping profession and be aware that we need a little bit, I was trying to say that this morning, we need a little bit doing of a little of anticipation on anticipation. What I mean? I mean that anticipation can go both ways. Anticipation can be functional or dysfunctional. Some great example of dysfunctional is paranoia, racism, sexism, ageism. These are constructs that produce a dysfunctional anticipation. And biased of all kind, like IQ in the States. For years we have said that blacks were inferior when the tests were just given in an English that was, Ostrogoth was, Greek to people living in the ghetto that were smart and white, but didn't speak the same English. That was pretty stupid of not the test of the participant, but more to create the same proof we have on person-centered or student-centered education. Student-centered education, we have a lot of study in many different countries, in North American, Canada, UK, Greece, Italy, Germany. They have much better correlation between positive outcome like impact on EQ, verbal and mathematical skill, behavior benefit, increasing participation, satisfaction, and motivation. Students learn from developing relationship with themselves and others, increased self-esteem, reduction of dropout, disruptive behavior, and absenteeism. So, also, it's very interesting, when you trust people, when you empower them, you give them a more responsibility, people do self-fulfilling prophecy, and they are behaving more maturely and less disruptively. So there are tons of benefits, and maybe the PowerPoint would be available, or we make it available, I guess. And I put a lot of research data. I would like just to end, not invading other people's space, wouldn't be very person-centered on my part, to say that is interesting that it seems that the scientific proof that the vision of human nature that we hold for helping people or educating them has a highly anticipatory value. But let's watch out. Anticipatory value doesn't sound good automatically. It can be anticipatory value for a less free and a less hopeful and dignified world, or can be the opposite. Value, again, have anticipatory value. Without values, we are blind to what we're doing and we become dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.